Farming is arguably the most important profession on Earth. Whether small or large scale, the practice ensures that we have food to eat. Farming might seem as basic as the planting and growing of crops and the rearing of animals. However, there are so many challenges that come with it. Watch this video to the end, as I'll be telling you the hardest parts of farming. First up, the great misconception. It's funny how some laymen and even the media describe rural life as being simple. Rural living is a wonderful way of life, but it also has its fair share of difficulties, including harsh weather conditions and some diseases that are totally out of your control. With these in mind, how can anyone ever describe farming as being simple? If you don't prepare for or overcome some of these significant obstacles, then you can end up having to sell or even lose everything you've worked so hard to grow. That being said, allow me to share 6 significant problems with farming that many farmers experience on a regular basis. Keep in mind that these problems that farmers encounter are intertwined and closely tied to one another. However, having problems with your farm doesn't mean the end of the world, because with proper planning and discipline, farmers can overcome any challenge that comes with the job. So what are the major problems with farming? Let's take a look at them one by one. Coming in at number 1 is lack of rain. There's no living crop or animal on Earth that is immune to drought. This is because water is essential for the well-being of your cattle, chicken, and any other livestock you have. In the same manner, lakes and ponds need rain in order to be habitable for your fish. Imagine how much you would enjoy a cool evening of fishing. Now imagine if the lakes were dried up. Sadly, lack of rain is one of the biggest problems that farmers face. And while we can do something about other types of farming problems, rain, or lack of it, is totally beyond human control. Next at number 2 is poor management. One of the biggest concerns in farming, and arguably one of the most challenging issues, is improper planning or management. When I say improper management, I'm referring to resource, finance, and land management. We must constantly be looking forward to the future in order to deal with issues in agriculture and rural life that are beyond our control. For instance, you can rent a pasture during the summer to give your own pasture enough time to relax before the next grazing season begins. Imagine if you keep grazing your land without giving it time to relax. It will eventually be bare, and you'll have to wait for another full season before the land returns to its lush green state. Also, imagine what would happen if it doesn't rain during your waiting time. It means your land will need more time than necessary to be replenished, and your cattle will not have any lush green grass to eat. With that being said, it is important to draw up effective plans for grazing your cattle during the winter season. If you fail to do so, then you'll be left with limited choices. Hurriedly look for land for them to graze, or be forced to sell the cows since you cannot provide lush green delicacies for them to eat. Now, at number 3 is soil temperature and weather. Another major problem farmers have to deal with on a regular basis is soil temperature and chilly weather. I'm sure you've stepped into your farm one day to discover that the air temperature is dropped below average for an unexplainable reason. This might not be such a crisis if the weather and soil temperature doesn't affect your business, but it'll be a worrisome thing if you're a farmer. Keep in mind that soil temperature is of great significance for planting and germination. For instance, corn is best grown in soil that's 50 degrees or warmer. This is not to say that crops cannot grow in colder temperatures, but rest assured that you'll not get the kind of yield you're looking for in those conditions. Unfortunately, soil temperature and weather are another problem with farming that's totally out of our control. However, this is also where good farm management comes in. With this in mind, I advise that you plant your crops during the time when the soil temperature is around the recommended level. Next, at number 4 is diseases. Diseases can do some real damage to your livestock if you don't manage them quickly, and this is a really big concern for livestock farmers. Unfortunately, there is no animal that is immune to disease, and the worst part is, an illness for one could mean an illness for all. Take chickens, for instance. Diseases spread quickly among them. The same goes for the fish in your pond, and this is why you need to pay close attention to your livestock and check for signs of diseases and handle them accordingly. Failure to guard your livestock from diseases could mean losing them all, and starting afresh is no joke, especially with livestock that needs years to reach their full commercial potential. Of course, there are several types of infections that are associated with different farm animals, but the good news is the spread of diseases is something you can control, unlike rainfall and unfavorable weather that are totally beyond your power. All you need is to hire an animal doctor to do regular checkups on your livestock and give them the right preventative medication against diseases. Coming in at number 5 is pests. No one likes pests. Not your tomatoes, not your corn, not your apples. They all hate them. But unfortunately, farm pests don't care, and they won't hesitate to invade your farm if you let them in. Farm pests don't take any prisoners either, as they destroy both young and mature plants that have taken you a lot of time and effort to grow. Some pests even go for the roots. This makes it difficult for the victims to ever grow again. Pests can be a real headache for the farmer, as they can lead to great losses, but it doesn't have to be so, as you can fight back and protect your plants from these unwanted visitors. A good pesticide is your best line of defense against pests, and I strongly advise that you use natural organic pesticide on your farm. This is because chemical pesticides are toxic and will surely do more damage to your crops than the pests you're trying to get rid of. Organic pesticides aren't toxic to your plants, but they are toxic to the pests, which is why it remains your best option. There are many brands of farm pesticides in the market, and they all work differently, so be sure to take some advice from a pesticide expert before applying them on your farm. Finally, at number 6 is having to sell precious livestock. If you thought that your livestock was just livestock, then I'd assume you just started farming. You can ask anyone who's been farming for a long time, and they'll tell you how attached they've become to their animals. Some farmers are so fond of their cattle, goats, and sheep that they've given them names. I'm sure you're wondering how being close to your animals and giving them names is a problem in farming. Well, it could be, because if these animals are being raised for commercial purposes, then it means that you'll have to say goodbye to them one day in exchange for some dollars. Believe it or not, selling off your livestock, which you've become so used to taking care of, is actually one of the hardest parts of farming. You'll just have to experience it to understand exactly what I'm saying. What's worse, when you know that the person taking your animal away is going to put it under the knife and make a meal out of it. The saddest part is, it may not have been your original intention to sell your cows. The decision to do so might be based on some circumstances beyond your control. It wouldn't make sense to keep your cows if you can't take care of them. In the event that the season is dry and the grass withers, then you'll be forced to sell, because if you don't, your cows will starve, and that would be cruel. Key takeaways. There are many hard parts of farming. Some we can control, others we cannot. Elements like rain and cold are totally beyond our control, unless you're Storm from X-Men. But even at that, you can plan your way around these natural conditions to still make good on your livestock and crops during the farming season. Managing wisely and educating yourself are the keys to conquering the major problems in farming. Don't rush into selling out. Find alternative approaches to handling your farming issues before you rush into a decision. And if you discover that selling is the most realistic thing to do, then you can go ahead. Just be better prepared next time to avoid a recurrence. So guys, what are the problems you faced on your farm, and how did you overcome them? Kindly tell us in the comments section, as your tips could be helpful for new farmers watching this video. Kindly like and share this video so other upcoming farmers can watch it too. Last but not least, subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell to keep getting more educative videos like this.